Segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Just another addition to the "you cannot make this stuff up" file. Sue Me Terry is the wife of Amazon Post columnist Max Boot, who used to write for the Wall Street Journal. He is a virulent anti-Trumper, never-Trumper. Basically, like so many never-Trumpers, he's exposed himself as not much of a conservative, never was, sort of was pantomiming conservatism. You can disagree with Trump on substantive issues, but these never-Trumpers have taken it so far, as we've seen with former congresswomen from Illinois and others in the intelligentsia, like Bill Kristol. You can go, it becomes obvious that you were never more than a cipher. You were never more than occupying a market position for your own personal gain, status, some combination of the two. So Max Boot was running around for the last how many ever years saying what so many of the never-Trumpers were saying before they were taken away by authorities for being pedophiles, for example, like the Lincoln Project leadership. Yep. I mean, incredible. He was saying Trump is the Manchurian candidate of one Vlad Putin. All the while, Max Boot, this Bezos Post columnist, was sleeping next to what the federal government now alleges is a CIA double agent. His wife, Sue Me Terry, has been charged, indicted, for failing to register as a foreign agent and conspiracy to violate the Foreign Agents Registration Act, according to an indictment that was made public this week in Manhattan. She promoted South Korea policy positions, disclosed non-public U.S. government information to South Korean intelligence officers, and facilitated access for South Korean government officials to their American counterparts in return for luxury gifts like $3,000 handbags and $2,800 Dolce & Gabbana coats and Michelin star-rated restaurant dinners, as well as $37,000 in covert funding for a public policy program focused on Korean affairs. Now, I understand South Korea is an ally of the United States, but that doesn't obviously mean that you can be a CIA analyst working on behalf of a foreign government, obviously. So, I mean, does Trump have voodoo dolls of these people? And he just decides which one he's going to poke today, where their world comes just and the world comes crashing down around them because their hypocrisy is exposed? It's just unbelievable. Who's compromised? Is it everybody that has sort of unhinged vitriol in the direction of Trump and otherwise, well-credentialed, educated people that traffic in the most fact-free conspiracy theories about him? Is it Trump or is it them? And time and again, we find out it's them. It's astounding. One can only wait to see what is ultimately revealed about the John Brennans and Jim Clap on, Clap off, James Clapper and Jim Comey and what don't we know about Peter? So many of these people. I just can't wait for the reckoning. It should be coming in the not too distant future. Martin Gurri is a former CIA analyst himself, presently a visiting fellow at the Mercatus Center, George Mason University, and author of The Revolt of the Public and the Crisis of Authority in the New Millennium. Martin Gurri, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Martin,
Hello, Martin.
Are you with us?
I'm here.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining us. How about this? I mean, we find out that Trump's CIA director, who succeeded Mike Pompeo, Gina Haspel, was involved in the Hunter Biden disinformation letter to characterize the Hunter laptop as a classic Russian information campaign. Trump's CIA director was involved in that in advance of the 2020 election. And it's just more of the same. Every time you turn around, somebody that is supposed to occupy the moral high ground is protecting our democracy, turns out to be in the process of attempting to undermine it and hoodwink the public about one thing or the other, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I spent my career as an analyst in CIA, and I cannot begin to tell you how unlike that is to anything I experienced from anybody who was in high executive level at that agency. I mean, you were supposed to be like a political nothing, a political eunuch, okay? Because you knew that if you even were perceived as favoring one side over the other, all your intelligence, all your analysis would be questioned. It would be tainted. So everything that's happening now is unparalleled. I was there a long, long time. It's unparalleled. It's never happened before. And honestly, the idea of Max Boot, who is one of my favorite people that I always go to for crazy quotes, his wife being an agent, it's just another instance of what seems to be projection, right? They accuse the other side of trying to destroy democracy, and then meanwhile they're erecting these censorship apparatuses so that people can't actually see what's online if they disagree with it.
So, I mean, we're taking stock now. We've had to take stock of all these agencies over the last 8 years. Wait, what does the FBI look like today? What does Secret Service look like? Obviously, after what happened on Saturday, the failed assassination attempt. I mean, what is your and we've talked a lot about this. Actually, I just did a podcast interview with Hugh Wolford, who's written a book about the history of the CIA. And again, there have been failures of all these agencies throughout the years, and bad actors within these agencies throughout the years, spies for America's enemies. That has happened, not consistently, but there have been these failures. And you understand these are human institutions governed by humans. There are going to be mistakes. There are going to be failures. There are going to be bad actors. But I mean, sort of culturally is what we're getting to. What is your assessment of your former agency today?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a systemic failure. I think, honestly, the job of the CIA is an impossible one. It's supposed to be this prophetic institution that tells the President of the United States what's going to happen tomorrow. Well, nobody knows, right? So many of the failures of the past that you mentioned is the fact that the job description is an impossibility. What's happening now is systemic corruption and systemic failure, an entirely different thing, which is using these the prestige of these institutions, and it being inside and outside of CIA is very funny, because inside it just feels like a bureaucracy. Outside it's like this monstrous thing that controls the world. So that prestige of that organization is being turned to completely base political ends, it seems to me, in a way that, like I said before, has never happened, and should never happen. And what to do with them, that's a really good question.
Well, part of it is, and this was my conversation with Professor Wilford, actually, and it's something you just mentioned, the scope of the state admission is too vast. And like with many of these agencies, it needs to be pared down. There needs to be some mission focus here, clearly defined mission within the bounds of what is possible, and that would go a long way to correct the agency creep, and then the politics that creeps in along with the agency creep.
Yeah, I agree with that for any number of reasons. Even when I was in there, and I've been gone a bit, and it's an open number, I'm not revealing any secrets, there used to be every year around 60,000 documents of analytic intelligence. 60,000. Who reads that stuff, right? This was. I had a friend at CIA who said, this is a middle class kind of job security agency. Most of the people there were writing for themselves.
Well, I want to move on to an article that you wrote about the end of Joe Biden and the Democratic establishment. Now we're learning this morning, Joe Biden's canceling all campaign events Because he has a runny nose. You think that this, like the walls are now for sure closing in on this man?
Yeah. I mean, Biden is such an accidental human, right? I mean, he is where he is because of a huge series of accidents having to do with Obama picking him and then the establishment turning to him in desperation because, Bernie Sanders was about to win the nomination. Yeah, I think you never know. A person like that, some new event can change, but he is such a deteriorated old man, and has been for many years, by the way. This is not a big surprise to anybody except those who were purposefully trying to convey a fantasy Biden world of which he was this towering figure. I find it hard. I don't see how he can move forward. He chose wisely for his vice president, who is Kamala Harris. So there's that moment of hesitation. Do you really want to be saddled with this lady as your candidate? But he's even worse, apparently.
You also offered a message to friends and colleagues on the other side of the political divide, those who are running around, I guess, promoting what the adopted positions of MSNBC, that Trump is a threat to democracy. He plans to be a dictator on day one. There are going to be death squads. Maybe that's what the CIA will be turned into, political death squads on Trump's watch. What's your message to those who are platforming that propaganda?
First of all, I mean, I'm an independent, I guess you would call it. I hate that word because it makes you sound like you have no opinions. I have strong opinions about what should be, but no party really represents my opinions. So that's where I speak from. It seems to me the first thing we have to understand is that this country, I mean, I'm also an immigrant. I come from Cuba. If you look out the window that I'm currently looking out, as I speak to you, I see this very peaceful suburban neighborhood, people walking their dogs. If you turn to the laptop, which is also in front of me, I see this America that is completely horrific, and people are going to, as you say, going to be throwing each other in prison, maybe shooting each other, maybe overthrowing democracy and setting up a Hitler-style democracy. Okay. Look at the window. Don't look at the laptop, okay? Look at the real America and see the humanity of your opponents. I mean, even people like Joe Biden, that I'm very opposed to because of many of his policies. I mean, he's a human being. You need to deal with people from a sense of human decency. And frankly, I mean, my concern with Trump has always been that he has this kind of like fighter's instinct, and it seems to be lacking a little bit in that.
Look out the window, not at your laptop. That's pretty good. I like that. That's a good turn of a phrase. Martin Gurri, former CIA analyst, presently a visiting fellow at the Mercatus Center of George Mason University, author of the book "The Revolt of the Public and the Crisis of Authority in the New Millennium." Martin Gurri, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
It's been fun.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV,